Okay, let me show you a little bit about the latest software. I thought people might be interested in just kind of a quick tour of the latest features. I imagine most people haven't upgraded their software since they got the kit, and I just wanted to show you, what's in store for you when you do. So, all right, the first thing is the knob pressing behavior has changed. So if I press, like, say, volume, well, it goes to 0, and that's what it used to do. But if I press it again, it goes to maximum. And so you'll just keep doing that. And if I'm on something other than 0 and I press it, it goes to 0, and then it goes to maximum, and then it goes back to 0. So that's an unsigned control. And VCal and PCal are now signed, actually. And if I press VCal, which is at 20 right now, see, it goes to 0 like it used to, and it goes to maximum, and then it goes to negative maximum, or negative minimum, whatever you want to call it. So that's, that's new behavior for pressing them. And what that does is it helps you move around, it helps you maximize or minimize, turn off, turn on, fully make something positive or negative on one of the screens. It can show you what the ranges are if you forgot. You can just press the knob and you can see what the ranges are. So it's pretty handy. And it spills over into the main screen selector. So if I press this, it takes me to the system page. So that's at the very end. If I press it again, it takes me back to the beginning. Now we had to move ACal off of here to do that. And it used to be you could press this anywhere and it would ACal, and it's not the case anymore. Now you have to be on the main page, the D-Lev page, and press this upper button, the out button. So if I do that, you can see that it does actually perform an ACal. And then if I, here, let me turn it on. I made out 1 when I'm doing an ACal, so it's blinking, right? And then if I lower the volume enough with my hand, you'll see the middle LED. Well, it came on, didn't it? God. Okay. Now it's muted. Okay, I just did an ACal and it auto-muted, and if I lower the volume enough, it unmutes. So that's kind of a new feature too that I think some people don't have, that I think is really, really useful, and particularly for you traditional volume sense folks. It'll keep the unit quiet all through the ACal, and then it'll keep it quiet until you unmute it with your volume hand. You don't have to go back to the main page, but I guess you'll be on it at this point. With this load, you're going to be on the main page kind of regardless. Well, not necessarily, because I'll get into that later. You can always add an external switch to do this too. So if it drives you nuts, you can always add an external ACal, external mute, unmute button. You can do those things, and I want to show you the expansion connector too, just quickly. But anyway, also VCal and PCal are now, like you saw, they're plus minus, and the reason I did that was to expand the low range, so that you could kind of do an ACal regardless of the environmental capacitance. It seemed a little scary to me that ACals were happening around 0. So this way, you could be across the room and do an ACal and then come back. I mean, if that's the way you do your ACals, that kind of thing. So, and another thing is they're squared now. The scaling of the knobs themselves, the values that the software uses are squared. So that what that does is gives you finer control when the numbers are small, when you're using small VCal and PCal numbers, but then it ramps up the strength as the numbers get larger. And the reason I did that was because the linear control seemed kind of nonlinear to me. It just felt, it seemed like larger VCal and PCals weren't doing as much as, a detent or two of a larger number wasn't having the same effect. It was having a smaller effect than when a detent or two when the VCal and PCal are small. So when you upgrade your software, you might have to tweak VCal and or PCal, because it's close. It's going to be close, but that's something to kind of look out for when you do the upgrade. So what else is new? The MIDI, obviously. Well, I don't know if it's obvious, but the -4 I guess is pretty obvious. The MIDI has changed quite a bit. Even the location of the page has changed so that now it's a little bit closer to the main page. And that was just to align the next pages, volume and pitch. When you're looking at the editor, they line up now with the V field and P field. They're in the same columns on the editor. I know it's kind of meaningless, but it's pretty. All right. So what's new here on the MIDI page is VLOC and CLOC are now pre-envelope generator. They do take into account the knee and the velocity, but they're before the envelope generator. So that should work better, I think. And that was Vincent's suggestion. Also, channel now, here you can see the range. If I press it, it goes from 0 to 16 like it used to, but now it goes to minus 16. And so negative values of channel send out MIDI clumps with gaps in between them, 2 millisecond gaps in between. So if you're experiencing a MIDI flooding kind of problem where the D-Lev is just choking the MIDI line back to your synthesizer and your synthesizer can't handle it for whatever reason, or if you're doing some kind of MIDI merge at MIDI rates, this will give a little bit of room for the other data to be merged in. Channel now also, well, negative channels obviously will do just what I said. Positive channels will be, they can flood the channel. They can flood the MIDI connection. Okay, and then 0 is MIDI is off. And CC, if we look at CC and I press CC, it goes from 0 to 31 like it used to, and now it goes also to minus 127. So what that does is when negative numbers of CC send out 7-bit CC data, and that's good for higher number, like above 32, I think. I can't remember, but it allows you to use CCs, control changes that only accept 7-bit data. So, and it allows you to send out only the most significant byte of 32-bit CCs. So that's kind of useful, I think. So you can do like things like filter resonance and stuff like that, chorus level, reverb level, with a negative CC. So that's nice. And then when you do CC 0 now, it turns off CC. That wasn't an option before either. So that's new. So I think MIDI's really come a long way with Vincent's help. I'm really happy with it. And I have to say too that I haven't seen really any kind of latency. I haven't experienced any kind of latency with MIDI. I think the Theremin is actually a pretty good instrument to be a MIDI controller, a continuous MIDI controller. I haven't experienced any stepping or latencies or really anything. It's really great. Yeah, things like the Haken continuum. Yeah, you got 10 fingers on the thing, and every one of them sending out 5 32-bit values or something every zillionth of a second, and you're going to clog up the MIDI pipe with that kind of thing. And but the Theremin, no, it just doesn't seem to be an issue at all, latencies or anything like that. So like I said, the volume page changed and the pitch page changed, but these are just ever so slightly. They just move like 1 or 2 spaces over, and that's it. Right? Thanks.